everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We are going to get started in just a couple of seconds. I'm going to give us a few minutes for some folks to join, just get everybody to get settled, get online. So we'll give it a couple minutes, just one more minute. While we do let folks settle in and join, and before we get into the content, just a couple of housekeeping items to let everyone keep everyone aware of. First of all, we are recording today's session, so you will be able to watch this recording. You'll get a follow-up email that will share the recording, so you're able to rewatch, share it with coworkers, whatever you might like to do. In addition, you'll notice over on the right-hand side panel, you're able to ask questions of folks. And in addition, you can also, just below that, you can see some resources that you are able to access. The report that we'll be talking about, some infographic, things like that. So feel free to click on those. It'll open directly for you. So it makes it really easy for you to access. But with that, I think we can get started. And again, thank you, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Reduce IT Costs, Save Up to $13 million with Agentic IT Operations. Also getting up to that 430% ROI, which we're going to talk a little bit more about. What we're really going to be talking through today are understanding some of the challenges and the pressures that are facing you all in enterprise IT, and particularly around those high costs. So we'll spend a lot of time talking about really how to, reduce those costs, help accelerate growth within your organization, and then discuss the role, what is Agentic IT Operations, and, how can you use Agentic ITOps to be able to achieve these outcomes of cost reduction and growth acceleration, risk reduction. And then we'll talk a little bit about enterprises that are already seeing progress in these areas and realizing the value, and talk about a new report that BigPanda has just let out. And as far as our speakers for today, you have myself and Cam. So I am Katie Petrillo. I'm the Senior Director of Product Marketing here at BigPanda. Have been with BigPanda about 2+ years or so, and working really closely with many cross-functional teams, including Cam's, that to really understand and be able to help articulate the value that enterprises are seeing from the platform that we'll talk about. And then Cam, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Sure. Good morning. Thank you, Katie. Cam Brozak. I lead our value engineering team, our go-to-market enablement, and our revenue operations team. And I've been at BigPanda coming up on 1.5 years now.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to be here. We appreciate it. Looking forward to the conversation today.
Glad to be here.
With that, let's jump right in. I really wanted to make sure that we sort of started with the crux of the conversation of why are we here kind of having this discussion? And I think the reality is the current state of enterprise IT is one where there's a lot of pressure facing leaders like yourselves. And much of that has to do with just this complexity that has started to surround the enterprise I&O function, especially with the adoption of hybrid cloud and modern software architectures, like we're talking about CI/CD, the microservices, agile processes. All of this has led to this really, exceptional scale increase in complexity and fragmentation that has posed some challenges to some of the longer standing processes that you've been probably working with for many years around ITIL and ITSM. And they're really coming in conflict with each other rather than sort of, supporting those. They tend to sort of exacerbate some of the challenges that already exist around IT visibility and lack of context, and has really resulted in us being really stuck in this state of human-led IT operations. And it's really preventing scale, and it's truly not working, right? And I think there's a couple of reasons for ways that's kind of coming to fruition. One of which is from the cost front, right? There's really high headcount and outsourcing costs. A lot of this human-led IT, IT operations, human-led, that's really this manual workload, right? You've really had to increase the size of your L1 and your L2 teams to be able to support the manual amount of event data, alert data, monitoring all of that, managing all of the tickets. And technology isn't necessarily allowing you to be able to scale. One of the ways you kind of also deal with that is, outsourcing, adding outsourcing and the teams to be able to manage the high volume of tickets. But that's not always working either. Those teams lack context. There's tend to be duplicative work. So there's a lot of challenges there that, just lead to very high costs across IT operations. In addition, there's, this also leads to, with all of this complexity that's coming in and you have different development teams kind of building and supporting things. You have many different organizations within your IT operations and even within ITSM, there's silos, right? Everyone is very focused on kind of supporting their own data, their own services and applications. And that has led to very much siloed teams, tools, processes. And it makes it really challenging when you're trying to respond to some sort of an incident because you don't have that visibility. Data is stuck in in tools that folks don't have access to. You're waiting to figure out who has this access, how do I get access? And it really hinders, certainly slows down response. It also just prevents really being able to automate so many of those workflows, which has been really one of the main goals within INO for many, many years. And it's really preventing us from achieving that, which is challenging. And then the other really consequence we're seeing here is that it's really slowing down innovation and growth. We're bringing in CI/CD and bringing all these developer teams in because we want to be able to accelerate the product, whatever your product might be able to deliver really innovative solutions. But what's happening is that those, developers, those SREs, those really high value teams end up being brought into these incidents and issues to be able to firefight. And that's taking away from the time that they should be spending on innovation and really working on those strategic projects. And at the end of the day, it's just that these costs really add up and in a way that impacts the business. And at the same time, you're also sort of losing your trust with many of those customers when you're not delivering those reliable services, which obviously has an impact on, churn and revenue in other areas. And what that really translates to on a day-to-day is your teams are really stuck in this reactive cycle. I think we hear this a lot from the enterprises that we're working with, right? Like we need to move from reactive to proactive. So we'll talk more about how we can help you do that. But I think the state of reactive is one that many folks just relate to these days. And I think that translates down to detection's really slow. It tends to be really, that response process tends to be inaccurate. You're dealing with L1s that are somewhat not as technical or not as experienced. And so to be able to manage that high volume of alert data, to be able to translate that into insights and next steps doesn't work. It results in, incorrect assignment, incorrect prioritization. It causes too many escalations. You're resulting in SLA fines and fees. So there's a lot of challenges with just that initial slow response. And then when you're really digging into that incident management process, we just talked about that. It tends to be extremely manual. It's really fragmented. You have different teams that need to be involved. You don't know where the knowledge, the sort of like historical information, that tribal knowledge lives. Might be in one person. That person might not be available. They're on PTO, whatever that might be. And this constant state of reacting to incidents and responding to them creates this level of fatigue, which just leads to sort of missteps and information not really coming to be operationalized, right? Some of that post-incident reporting doesn't always get done, which means those learnings are not documented and put back into the foundation to prevent them from happening again. And all of this just means that you have this really high volume of incidents that are impacting the business, whether that's coming from a change, whether that is coming just from, incidents being extremely slow. It's really just results in this really reactive firefighting cycle that brings in too many folks that shouldn't be involved in addition to just the kind of already large L1 and outsourced teams that you already have. And ultimately, again, the high cost and really slows down that innovation and growth. So what's going to break this seemingly never-ending reactive cycle, right? That's what everyone really wants to figure out. And I think, not to sort of beat a broken drum here, but AI is really going to be, AI and agentic capabilities are really going to be the glue that's going to be able to transform the processes that you're working on today, right? Like all those challenges we're talking about, missing context, fragmented teams and knowledge, that wildly high volume of data that's coming from that complex infrastructure is something that you can overcome, particularly if you really approach it with this AI native data strategy for your enterprise, right? And I think if you think about it, it's like really with AI and agentic, there's two key differentiators with how you can approach how you should be approaching your IT ops data today, right? Number one, AI and agentic really take you from focusing on static, manual, rules-based correlation to more of this dynamic reasoning-based automation, right? So that's really one of the key differentiators when you're looking at an AI native data strategy. The other is that we're not just talking about ingesting this really structured and perfectly clean data, which is what has been the foundation of IT operations and ITSM for the last 20 plus years. Of course, you need that machine level data, right? That structured machine data coming from things like observability and your CMDB. But there's also, we talked about like tribal knowledge. How do we resolve this in the past? Like, I know we solved this issue a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember, what really was that root cause? Where was it documented? It's all that like human layer of context and expertise that doesn't fit squarely into an alert. It doesn't fit into a CMDB. How do you capture that and bring that into your day-to-day incident management processes? And then leveraging the AI to really be able to kind of do sensing, to be able to learn and evolve over time. This is basically like the patterns and the trends that typically will emerge over time. But again, they're not identified by like fixed rules or by thresholds or even necessarily something that a human is able to identify, but the AI can be able to identify. So when you look at AI and agentic, you're really starting to talk about not just machine, but knowledge and all this AI sensing to really bring in all of that. And what that really allows for is, I kind of mentioned this, it's this reasoning at scale, right? So the AI is able to identify, what is relevant to this particular incident, reduce the noise that is not relevant, and transform all of that data and knowledge into something that is actionable, right? It's something that is able to kind of adapt to the changing and evolving environment, that incident at hand, and really make sure that every response over time gets smarter. And when you're able to deliver that reasoning at scale using that AI, it allows you to really unlock this idea of automation, which has sort of been something that is unreachable for so many years, right? It really becomes accessible because instead of really relying on these static and rules-based, like if this, then that responses, you can now employ this dynamic and adaptive automation that you understand, what those insights are that the AI has been delivering, because you're able to see that reasoning behind it. Where is it coming from? So you have that confidence to be able to employ that sort of adaptive automation to be able to, eliminate those manual workflows, eliminate that slow response, really that manual incident management, and really move forward. And if you, when you really start to bring AI and agentic into your IT operations strategy, that's really what we're starting to think about as for when we say agentic IT operations. And so let's talk about what I mean by that. But I really think when you bring AI and true AI and true agentic capabilities into your IT operations, that becomes this key to unlocking the potential of AI within your workflows and processes. It's really a rethinking of what you've been doing for the last 20 plus years with ITIL and standard processes and ITSM. And what that really looks like is, think about, we've been very focused on, static records and tribal knowledge, and your like CMDB, like waiting for that tenured employee to get back from PTO to answer your question. And now you're really talking about this living dynamic intelligence layer that actually has all of those insights within it and can surface them when it is necessary for a specific incident. And it's something that you continually add to. Every single postmortem, every single resolution path gets really brought back into that operational layer so that you get those responses and those outputs get smarter over time, because you're adding more context, you're adding more information that allows it to just continue to refine. And rather than being, really stuck with correlation, rules-based correlation, rules-based automation, using that manual structured data, this was something that was a manual process. It's expensive. It was never quite right. You always had to be tuning it. Now you're really thinking about, like I was saying, that reasoning-based automation, right? Like using data, knowledge, and AI sensing across all of your all of your I&O data, your infrastructure, to really have this holistic picture of what is happening across the services, applications, infrastructure, to really be able to kind of take next steps accurately. And this allows you to go from truly just reacting and being stuck in that reactive cycle to actually being able to eliminate tickets, right? Because you're automatically resolving some of those issues that your L1s are handling right now, but they really don't need it because it could be something that is automated. Automating some of that like lower level, response, and even automating much of that, manual incident management process, and really being able to focus on the highest priority incidents you haven't seen before, things like that. And so you really start to talk about like predicting and preventing incidents. Again, something that many organizations have been looking to achieve, but have never been quite able to realize. And then finally, that takes your costs from being extremely high internal and outsourced to really looking at automating your ops, being into an organization that is extremely resilient. About a month ago, we had a customer session, and one of the folks that was in the room, he was saying, today I manage a team of L1 operators, or just I manage a team. I don't think he even said that. He just said, I manage a team, and in 5 years, I'll be managing a team of agents. And I think that is really the right way to be thinking about this. Is it's just about how do you evolve your kind of processes and way of working to be able to not necessarily, be managing humans, but to be able to managing agents to be able to do that. And I think that it just kind of you rethink what your human roles start to look like, of how do you refine those agents, make sure they're delivering the right outputs, reusing the right reasoning, things like that. So it really is an exciting kind of time to be in IT operations because of all the opportunity that it holds. And what this really unlocks is a totally new way of working, right? We kind of talked about, the moving from the human to managing a team of agents. Right now, today, I'd say enterprise IT in many organizations is sort of seen as like a gatekeeper and one that sets rules that can slow teams down. And I think this doesn't have to be the case. If you can deliver what those teams want, which is they want to be able to work fast. Like think about those developer teams we talked about earlier, an application team, they want to be able to develop, push code quickly, improve their products. But if they're able to do that, while also ensuring that you as an IT leader have the confidence and assurance that they're doing so in a secure way, a compliant way, a low risk way, this is really what we're calling decentralized execution and centralized governments. Teams move fast with the agility that they need, and you have the control that you need in IT. This is a world where, like, imagine this is where we were saying, like, those sort of most of those issues, those lower priority issues, are AI assisted or automated so that they're, resolved automatically, because you have all of that rich context from all those various data and knowledge sources. You're able to deploy that automation with a level of accuracy that simply couldn't be done without AI and agentic. But really, that just eliminates a whole bunch, layer of tickets and a layer of incidents right off the bat, right? This is also a world where IT goes from kind of being seen as this bottleneck to more of a catalyst, right? You have clear guidelines on how to prevent risk within those BUs or product teams that are looking to accelerate. For example, like we talk to a lot of developers teams that, feel bogged down by, like, no one wants to highlight that they might have a high risk change that's coming in because it slows down their pace of delivery, right? Which we're going to talk a little bit about our change risk management product within BigPanda. But when you have really clear guidance on the change risk of a certain change, the score of that, and it's visible to everyone, those development teams can actually resolve those risks quickly. They know what is low risk without necessarily needing to send that through to the cab, and the cab will agree because they can see and understand that risk score reasoning extremely clearly and well. So again, that's where we mean that you have that governance while allowing for that execution to have at the same time. And then what does that do? It unlocks innovation, right? Your business teams are able to focus on their priority projects, their strategic projects without getting pulled into firefighting. And instead, they're delivering code and ensuring reliability at scale. And, I've touched on a little bit of this, but this is really what we're delivering here at BigPanda with our Agentic IT Operations platform, which is really the foundation of it. The bottom of this slide here, you can kind of see is when I was talking about that AI native data strategy, we are built on the IT knowledge graph. This is taking in all of the data sources, that machine level data, right? Your IT, your internal observability, your CMDB, even your change to some extent. But we're also taking in a lot of that operational knowledge, human-led institutional knowledge, whether that is service desk tickets, whether that is ITSM, insights, collaboration, things that have happened on a past bridge call and it was recorded in Zoom or whatever that tool might be, and being able to bring that in, as well as all of this AI sensing and being able to run AI across all of this to be able to identify patterns and trends that you wouldn't be able to see otherwise. And this knowledge graph fuels our 3 products. First, AI detection and response, which is really primarily aimed at your L1 operations teams, right? How do we help them to be able to detect those incidents as quickly or automatically as possible, and then also triage and respond as automatically and quickly as possible, leveraging things like past historical incidents, being visibility into what's going on in the service desk. That is very commonly a silo. NOC and service desk, they don't talk to each other. So now we're giving that NOC team visibility into service desk tickets so that they can prioritize those issues that they're seeing through alert data more accurately to be able to prevent or limit the impact on those end users. Looking at things like run books, looking at things like knowledge bases to ultimately be able to deliver a very curated set of here is a view of what this incident is, the priority, the assignment group that needs to be involved. If you can resolve it as an L1, being able to do that yourself or in an automated fashion, packaging that all up that in a way that is purpose-built for an L1. It's not for an observability or a tool engineer. It's not for a developer or an SRE. It's built directly for an L1 at their capacity and being able to keep up with their volume. If, of course, escalations are always going to, likely occur with major incidents. And that's where our AI incident assistant comes in, also known as Big E. This is where we're accelerating that incident management process in 2 key ways. We're automating the collaboration of your major incidents. So the standing up of incident channels, bridge calls, paging the right on-call teams, paging the right experts, automating the communications that need to go out to those investigators, to executives, to customers, automating all of the comms around it, as well as all that post-incident analysis and reporting that is so critical to an incident commander or an incident manager. And then we're also being able to deliver really rich insights to the teams that are doing that investigation, the escalation teams like L2, L3, and SRE. We're using all of those insights coming from the knowledge graph to be able to help them to understand the scope of the issue. What is the root cause? How do I remediate this? How do we solve this in the past, and really be able to get to that resolution as fast as possible? And then sort of the holy grail of it all is AI incident prevention, the third product here, which is primarily composed of a change management component, change risk management, and a problem management. And so being able to analyze, for example, past changes with affected CIs, historical incidents, to be able to really define what the risk score of a proposed change is. This is something that today is very much based on maybe a 7-question survey, if you will, or just someone's gut feeling, or maybe that they're actually, not necessarily speaking correctly to the risk of that score because they want to just make sure that it gets pushed through. That all goes away with change risk management because you have clear and systematic scoring of the changes that are being proposed, with reasoning as to why that scoring exists, and then remediation steps for how to actually resolve that, right? So you're able to, this is really where that kind of centralized governance and decentralized execution comes into play, because if those changes are low risk standard changes, let those teams push those through. But of course, for the few that do end up being high risk, give them the information to be able to know how to go resolve that, remediate that, or fix that, so you prevent those change-related incidents from going into effect. And then the other side of it is problem management, really being able to analyze past historical incidents based on root causes, similar root causes, to be able to identify where you have sort of recurring themes and issues happening across your incidents, to be, and same thing, identify what those areas are, identify the solution steps, quantify which of these incidents actually have the potential to cause the most downtime, so your teams can prioritize which problems to start on first. So that's really the platform that we have within BigPanda that really is going to be helping you to be able to, lower costs, make your customers happier, and ultimately reduce risk across the business, right? And this is where we're not, really elevating from, we're absolutely going to help you to be able to reduce noise and reduce incident volume, reduce some of your bridge call costs, but I think you can really translate this to significant business outcomes, which is what we're doing with a lot of our customers. On the reduced cost front, we've talked a little bit about this, of course, like, reducing some of that L1 headcount, being able to allow those teams to do more with the, achieve, work on more incidents, work on higher value products, grow your business, but keep your team size the same, right? Or be able to, reduce some of your monitoring spend, your tool spend, with some of the analysis that we're able to do on alert quality, tools quality, and be able to either optimize those tools or to potentially be able to get rid of them altogether. We've had one insurance organization that actually achieved they avoided about 30,000 hours of manual work through the use of correlation. And they were, obviously that then translated to like $1.5 million of labor saved every single year annually. And we're just talking about correlation. That's one narrow aspect of what comes with the AI detection and response product within the platform. So there's really a huge opportunity to really scale cost reduction when you're looking at this entire product and of course, across the entire platform. We've talked a lot about, reducing incident volume, and what that really translates down to is like keeping your customers happy, right? Reducing the impact on customers with fewer incidents or no incidents, but fewer incidents, shorter incidents, to really be able to deliver more reliable services. We work with a media and a gaming company, and they, with their ability to agentically respond to alerts and improve their L1 operations team, they reduce their escalations and bridge calls. Literally was brought up as like, we're not waking people up in the middle of the night anymore. But what that translated to was their gamers were much more pleased with the reliability of the games that they're playing, because they're, not getting, there's fewer or little downtime with the product. And then of course there's reducing risk, right? We talked about change risk dashboard, being able to identify those high risk deployments that are tied to like past failures. That helps you to avoid customer disruption, avoid recovery costs. And I think that's a really, clear way that we're able to reduce risk across many organizations. And these are results that and outcomes that we're able to deliver for enterprise IT teams across all industries and across all regions. And just recently, we aggregated some of these results that we're seeing from our customers in a brand new report. And that is what Cam is going to speak about. So Cam, I'll let you introduce the report and talk a little bit more about results.
Fantastic. Thank you, Katie. Well, I'm excited to share that we recently published the business value of the BigPanda Platform report. This is a compendium of data-backed value assessment results and statistics that really gets at what the enterprises we're working with are achieving with BigPanda. This is drawn from almost 24 recent collaborative value assessments that we conducted directly with a healthy mix of our customers, which are enterprises from various industry sectors and segments. And we worked directly with our customers to understand and articulate the impact of our product on their business operations. These customers shared with us their actual IT operations data, ranging anywhere from 2 months to even 2 years of data, with more than 87% providing us with half a year or more of data for analysis and comparison purposes. So that's the basis for the data set that was used in the report. And as you'll see, these findings collectively paint a clear picture of how BigPanda improves operating IT costs by lowering them, improves performance, and also improves operational resiliency, de-risking operations, and the impact of ultimate on the end users, customers, and the brand as a whole. Should I progress this, Katie, or? Oh, fantastic. Thank you. So what we found in the study is very exciting. The median annual benefit calculated fully ramped for our customers is 2.85 million from that subset of 24 customers, with a median observed ROI of 430% and a payback period that's less than a year. This obviously depends on the scope, but it's often in the vicinity of about 6 months, 6 to 9 months. What's important to emphasize here is that these are not just hypothetical projections, modeled benefits. They're actually measured outcomes from our very own customers in the field using our product daily, as they reported back to us and calculated with us. So what's powerful is how quickly the platform really begins returning the value. So as mentioned, most organizations start seeing tangible results in a matter of months. Those benefits scale, additional ones come into the picture as well, and the fallback period occurs well before that 1 year mark. So let's dig into a couple of different areas. We're going to tie this back to the areas that Katie mentioned, the transforming business outcomes with Agentic ITOps. The first of which was around lowering costs. So really freeing up budget and lowering the spend, being able to do as much or more with less. Here we highlight two value driver areas within the cost reduction category. And I want to be very clear, there are other potential value drivers that we can and often do consider. And you can find a lot more on that in the value white paper itself. So please go and check out those extra details there. But one finding I want to call out from our value report is around ticket volume reduction. We see that range in the double digits with a median of 43% reduction, which for our enterprises can be as much as 13.3 million saved annually recurring. Think about all the manual and needless human toil that typically goes into this. Many customers tell us that before BigPanda, all their alerts would be manually monitored, deduplicated, and correlated one by one. BigPanda saves them a ton of time and lets them focus on resolving issues instead of combing through thousands of alerts to figure out the problems. We were also able to uncover significant IT tool spending reductions that our customers can make, whether that's saving almost 3 million in otherwise required licensing upgrades, new contracts for additional capabilities like paging and collaboration, or reducing 60 tools spanning 550 applications down to one. I'll add another anecdote here. One of our customers, a global financial services and technology company, was able to eliminate almost 400,000 hours of manual monitoring correlation work by reducing over 22 million unique alerts to just 7 million BigPanda correlated incidents, cutting out, as I mentioned before, deduplication, correlation, and really the ticket creation work, which saved them almost 14 million in costs annually recurring. In addition to that, they were able to take those savings and reinvest the time and budget into new value-add projects. They shifted resources and they created a whole new team, a systems ops automation team, which is now handling a backlog of runbook work for their other tools like PagerDuty, Xmatters, so on and so forth, which were tasks they literally have been delaying and backlogging for years. Now they can actually do it. And they can do a lot more with the same resources, same teams, and same budgets they have. And the cherry on top there is that they're actually also accelerating and augmenting their upcoming M&A integration activities. And they even increased estimates on cost synergies by a couple factors. And this was observed in one of their recent acquisition work as well. So let's move on to the next area of transforming business outcomes with agentic IT operations. And that pertains to happier customers, which in the IT ops space is associated with fewer outages and faster resolution times. So here we focus on operational excellence outcomes, but this reduction isn't just operational, it's experiential. Faster fixes lead to happier customers, fewer escalations, and healthier SLAs. And our study showed, among, again, many other data points and value drivers, that our customers' MTTR reductions spend 19 to a whopping 81%, worth 1.5 million in annual savings, or circa that point, as well as bridge call reductions. Katie touched on this, saving 35 to 74% of that time, burden, and expenses associated, which could easily be in the $2 to $3 million recurring per year range as well. And when we look at customers' P1 incidents, we saw those resolution times to be much faster than the most critical, important incidents. One financial services leader reported that for the first time in his 20+ year career in the space, his team is observing huge reductions in major outages. So that was a nice anecdote to hear. And a different example that comes to mind here is one of our global hospitality customers who saw tremendous impact and reduction on their major incidents with notable impact to guest experiences. So specifically looking at those majors that would impact their customers and guest experiences. The average MTTR with BigPanda was reduced by 67%, and the average time to detect was reduced by a whopping 92% with BigPanda for, again, those majors with guest experience impact. And keep in mind, what does that mean? So this could be events related to things like mobile guest service outages. So things like preventing mobile keys from working, check-in and check-out procedures, any type of representative service chat capabilities being down, room reservations for that time period also being down, impacted. So not allowing guests to book rooms either directly through this organization's website or through any of a number of their OTAs. Loyalty enrollment being able to get into profiles, and even hotel associates being able to access guest data, impacting both pre-arrival and on-property service and experiences. And lastly, moving to our final third area is reducing risk and protecting revenue and brand. So our study found that our customers are able to achieve millions of dollars in annual revenue loss prevention, depending on the scale and the scope. Our customers report shorter MTTD and faster response times, which helps them get ahead of issues and protect their brand image and revenue before impact and incidents happen. This is especially critical for digital-first organizations where outages are immediately visible to customers and can have really steep brand and financial consequences. One hospitality enterprise shared that centralizing operations in BigPanda gave them a much earlier detection capability, helping them get ahead, really a head start in handling their incidents. And going into a different industry, another customer example here is a luxury electric vehicle manufacturer, really fighting for market share in a lucrative but very competitive market. And BigPanda has helped it save 91 hours of downtime associated with major incidents that would have directly caused productivity loss by halting actual production of cars. Like the number one thing that they're focusing on. They obviously have a finite capability to produce cars due to physical limitations. And also company leadership came out and publicly committed to a specific target volume of cars rolling off of the production lines being produced. So for their IT leaders, the mission is simple. Don't let the lines go down. And their customers in Wall Street are surely paying close attention. So this will be vital to their brand and go-to-market strategy. So as you can see, we get to engage on some neat impact stories and with our customers when we run value assessments with them, when we talk to them, when they really share their experiences with us. We also do this to an extent with our prospects as well, earlier in the cycle. So where does this take us, Katie?
Yeah, that's a good segue because we'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, it's interesting to hear you talk about those results, because also as you're kind of talking about happier customers, you see the overlap and, happier customers when they can book a room, but that also impacts revenue, right? So there's so much overlap between these outcomes, I would say as well. It's like, they're all very much interrelated. But yeah, where can you all get started? So one thing I would say we have here at BigPanda is a really exceptional professional services team that works really closely with our enterprises to get them up and running. And this is kind of a really small snapshot of kind of the process that they take of how they get customers started, right? And I think number one, it starts with really being able to understand your organization and your goals. What are the priorities? What are the outcomes that you're looking to improve upon, whether that is that reduced cost, is that more reliability, is that to get your teams to be able to focus on innovation and really prioritize a use case to get started with. There's a lot of different areas you can go down. It's easy to get overwhelmed with AI because again, it sort of all seems shiny and wonderful, but we really want to focus on a priority use case because that's going to help you get, identify success quickly. Second step is really looking at the data and knowledge sources. As we talked about, the IT knowledge graph is the foundation to your success with this platform. And so looking at what are your observability sources, where's your ITSM tickets? What does your CMDB look like? What sort of collaboration tools do you have? Where do people get on bridge calls? Where do they manage incidents in collaboration like Slack or Teams or wherever it might be? Where does kind of institutional knowledge tend to live in the organization? So getting a sense of where all of your information lives. And again, it doesn't need to be perfect. It's really more around like sending that high volume of data so that then letting the AI to be able to parse through that and pull through what's relevant. And then number one, really being focused about what are the metrics you're looking to improve, what are the metrics you are being held accountable for, right? And then based on that use case that we have laid out and the data sources that we want to be bringing in, we will set really achievable milestones. And those are going to be within a matter of weeks. They're not going to be 12 to 18 months out. We want to make sure that, you're seeing value and seeing progress within a short period of time so that we can then sort of build some credibility, start to kind of prove capability, and then start to be able to expand to additional use cases. So those could be things just like as all the things that Cam was just talking through. That could be manual toil, it could be ticket reduction, it could be reduced number of of major incidents that are avoided, whatever it might be, what's important to your organization. We want to really be able to understand that. And then just as Cam mentioned, we do run those BVAs, those business value assessments during the sales cycle as well to be able to quantify what your potential savings could be and help you build that business case for the platform being brought into the organization. So that's a key part of it. And then, we'll adopt incrementally, right? We start with that highest value use case, prove that success at that key milestone tied to one of those critical outcomes for your business, and then expand to additional teams, additional use cases, data sources, whatever that might be. So we take a really pragmatic approach to, bringing Agentic ITOps into your organization. And then finally, this is kind of taking us to the end of our time today. Just wanted to, everything that Cam was chatting through is documented in a brand new report. As mentioned, the business value of BigPanda Platform. That's one of the assets that linked over to the right. It's number one there. There's also an infographic. We have a blog. Feel free to engage with any of those resources. It's also all available on our website. So you can always go to bigpanda.io to be able to learn more about the platform, our products that I talk through, all of that. And then, of course, we would love to hear from you if you would like to learn more and get a live demo, take this from slides to a demo and see what these products really look like and start to have a conversation about what it could look like in your organization. And of course, we can talk about what the value assessment process would be like as part of that as well. And then, number 4 under resources, there is a direct link for you to be able to get a demo. So feel free to engage with that. But with that, I'd say we have reached the end of our time here today. There is a quick poll that you can see. Feel free to take that, now available under the resources. But with that, I'll say, Cam, thank you for your time today and sharing all those great insights and all the great work that your team is doing with enterprises. We appreciate it. And thank you everyone for joining. And hopefully we'll see you on a future webinar.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.